Have you ever felt a surge of emotion take over you completely, leaving you feeling powerless, reactive, or even ashamed of how you responded? Perhaps it was anger that erupted in a meeting, anxiety that made your hands sweat during a social interaction, or sadness that unexpectedly pulled you into a quiet corner of your mind. For many of us, emotions feel like a force outside our control, something that hijacks our thoughts and actions before we even realize what is happening. The truth is, emotions are not your enemies. They are signals, guides, and messengers that, when understood, can provide profound insight into yourself and your environment. But to harness this power, we must learn emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is often misunderstood. People frequently confuse it with suppressing feelings, pretending nothing is wrong, or acting stoically even when their mind is a storm of thoughts and feelings. But true emotional regulation isn't about denying or controlling your feelings externally. It's about learning to understand, respond to, and work with your emotions in a way that aligns with your values and goals. Think of emotions as the traffic lights on the road of your life. Anger, fear, joy, and sadness are the signals. Red means stop, yellow means slow down and reflect, green means proceed with clarity. The challenge is learning to read these signals clearly and make conscious decisions in response, rather than being swept along blindly. Your brain is at the center of this process. The amygdala, often referred to as the brain's emotional center, reacts instantly to perceived threats or significant events. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the thinking and reasoning part of your brain, evaluates situations, plans responses, and considers long-term consequences. The problem is that the amygdala fires first, which is why emotions can feel overwhelming and automatic. The good news is that, through practice and awareness, you can strengthen your prefrontal cortex's ability to regulate the amygdala. This is the biological foundation for emotional mastery. Take a moment now to reflect on a recent emotional experience where you felt out of control. Perhaps it was a conflict, a stressful work situation, or even a small daily inconvenience that triggered an intense reaction. Close your eyes if it helps. Notice how your body responded. The tightness in your chest, the knot in your stomach, the tension in your jaw. These sensations are your body speaking to you. By simply observing them without judgment, you take the first step toward mastering your emotional responses. Awareness is the starting point, and it is powerful. Emotions are not problems to be eradicated. They are information. They are signals about your needs, your boundaries, your values, and the environment around you. Learning to regulate emotions is not about eliminating the natural ebb and flow of feelings. Instead, it is about understanding them, responding intentionally, and transforming what once felt like chaos into clarity, insight, and empowerment. And that is what we are going to explore in this video, step by step, strategy by strategy, exercise by exercise. By the end, you will not only understand your emotions more deeply, but you will also have the tools to guide them rather than be guided by them. To truly understand why emotional regulation is so important, imagine a scenario that many of us have faced. You're at work, presenting an idea you've poured hours of thought into. A colleague interrupts, criticizes your approach, and suddenly you feel a surge of anger rise within you. Your heart pounds, your face flushes, and your thoughts race uncontrollably. Without the ability to regulate your emotions, you might snap, say something you regret, or shut down completely. That moment can spiral into tension, misunderstandings, and even long-term consequences in relationships or professional opportunities. Now imagine the same scenario, but this time you recognize the rising anger. Take a slow, deliberate breath and respond calmly, addressing the critique without losing composure. The difference is transformative. Emotional regulation allows you to respond with intention rather than react impulsively. Emotional regulation is not only about avoiding negative outcomes, it is about creating space for better choices and clearer thinking. When you master this skill, your relationships improve because you can communicate more effectively, empathize more deeply, and navigate conflict with clarity rather than defensiveness. Imagine resolving a heated disagreement with a loved one where both parties feel heard and understood rather than letting miscommunication escalate into resentment. Emotional mastery creates an environment where growth, understanding, and connection can flourish. Beyond relationships, emotional regulation directly impacts your mental and physical health. Unmanaged emotions can lead to chronic stress, anxiety, poor sleep, and even physical health problems such as high blood pressure or weakened immunity. Conversely, learning to regulate your emotions reduces stress, improves focus, and allows you to navigate daily challenges with resilience and calm. It enhances your problem-solving abilities because your mind is not clouded by reactive impulses. The ability to observe, pause, and respond intentionally creates a foundation of stability that allows you to thrive in life's unpredictable moments. Take a moment now to reflect on your own life. Identify one area where emotions seem to control you more than you control them. Maybe it is a challenging relationship, a high-pressure work environment, or even your own self-talk when you face setbacks. Hold that scenario in your mind and consider how different your response might be if you could remain calm, deliberate, and intentional in that moment. Awareness of these high-impact areas is the first step toward change. Emotional regulation is not a magical switch or a one-time skill. It is a practice, a series of choices, reflections, and actions repeated consistently over time. Each moment you notice your emotions, pause, and choose your response. You strengthen the mental pathways that allow your prefrontal cortex to guide your amygdala. In other words, every mindful breath, every conscious choice, every intentional action reinforces your capacity for emotional mastery. With persistence, what once felt overwhelming and uncontrollable gradually becomes manageable, predictable, and even empowering. Now imagine a life where intense emotions no longer hijack your actions. Picture yourself responding to stress with clarity rather than panic, approaching conflicts with empathy rather than defensiveness, and navigating uncertainty with a steady mind. This is not an abstract ideal. It is achievable through consistent practice, awareness, and the strategies we will explore next. By understanding why emotional regulation matters and committing to its practice, you are setting the stage for transformation that impacts every area of your life, from your relationships to your career, health, and personal fulfillment. Before you can begin to master your emotions, it's essential to understand what sets them off. Emotional triggers are the hidden switches within your mind that activate strong reactions, sometimes immediately, sometimes subtly over time. These triggers are unique to each individual. For one person, a critical comment may ignite anger. For another, the same comment may trigger anxiety or deep sadness. Triggers are not signs of weakness or failure. They are clues. They reveal what matters to you, where your values lie, and where your unresolved experiences may reside. Identifying them is the first step toward gaining control. Start by observing your reactions throughout the day. Notice when your body tenses, when your mind races, or when your mood shifts sharply. These are the signals that an emotional trigger is at work. Keeping a journal can be extremely helpful. Write down moments when your emotions felt intense. Describe the situation, your thoughts, and the sensations in your body. Over time, patterns will emerge. You may realize that certain people, situations, or even internal thoughts consistently provoke strong responses. This process is like mapping a terrain filled with hidden obstacles. Once you see them, you can navigate with awareness and intention. Let's do a simple exercise right now. Think of a recent incident where you felt overwhelmed by emotion. Maybe it was a conflict, a moment of self-doubt, or an unexpected criticism. Close your eyes if it helps. Replay the scenario in your mind and notice exactly what triggered the emotion. Was it a word, a tone of voice, or a thought that spiraled? Notice your body. Is your chest tight, your stomach knotted, your hands trembling? Observe without judgment. Just noticing is the first powerful step toward mastery. Triggers often have physical cues before you even consciously recognize them. You might feel a tension in your shoulders, a racing heartbeat, or shallow breathing. Your body is constantly giving you signals, and by tuning into them, you gain precious seconds to pause, reflect, and choose your response. Think of this as developing an internal early warning system. The more familiar you become with your triggers and the physical signs that accompany them, the better you can anticipate and regulate your emotional reactions. Identifying triggers is an ongoing practice. Life will always present new challenges, and emotional responses will continue to arise. Each day, take note of moments when your emotions were intense. Reflect on what caused them, how you responded, and what you might do differently next time. This process builds awareness, the foundation of emotional mastery. Awareness allows you to transform your relationship with your emotions. Instead of being pulled into reactive cycles, you begin to respond with thoughtfulness, intentionality, and confidence. Now imagine the power of knowing your triggers deeply. Imagine anticipating a stressful situation and consciously choosing a calm, deliberate response. Imagine feeling tension arise in your body and recognizing it before it escalates. Each small moment of awareness is a step toward control. Each observation builds resilience. And over time, these steps compound, turning emotional reactions that once felt automatic into conscious, empowering choices. Identifying triggers is not just about avoiding negative outcomes. It is about reclaiming the freedom to act from your values, not your impulses. Now that you've begun identifying your emotional triggers and building awareness, it's time to take concrete steps toward mastering your emotions. Emotional regulation is not a passive skill. It requires active practice, deliberate choices, and consistent effort. One of the most foundational strategies is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of observing your thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations in the present moment without judgment. Start with your breath. Take a slow, deep inhale, noticing the expansion of your chest. Then exhale fully, feeling tension release with the outward flow. Even a few intentional breaths can create a pause between a stimulus and your reaction, giving your prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, time to guide your response instead of the amygdala hijacking it. Another essential strategy is cognitive reframing, which involves consciously changing the way you interpret situations. Instead of telling yourself, "This is impossible, I can't handle it," try reframing it as, "This is challenging, but I can find a way to navigate it." Cognitive reframing does not deny reality or ignore difficulties. It shifts your perspective, allowing your emotional response to be more balanced and constructive. For example, if a colleague criticizes your work, rather than interpreting it as a personal attack, reframe it as an opportunity to improve or clarify your ideas. This subtle shift in mindset significantly reduces emotional intensity and fosters calm, intentional responses. Impulse control is another critical tool in emotional mastery. When you feel anger, anxiety, or fear rising, pause. Count slowly to 10. Take a few deliberate breaths or step away from the situation if possible. This small interruption in the automatic emotional flow is deceptively powerful. It interrupts reactive patterns and gives your rational mind the space to choose a thoughtful response. Over time, pausing becomes a natural habit, making it easier to respond rather than react, even in high-stress situations. Expressing emotions healthily is also vital. Suppressing or ignoring feelings only causes tension, stress, and eventual emotional outbursts. Journaling is an excellent method for processing your thoughts and emotions safely. Write down your feelings, describe the triggers, and reflect on your responses. This practice externalizes your emotions, allowing you to observe them from a distance. Talking with a trusted friend, engaging in creative outlets like drawing, music, or dance, and incorporating physical movement into your day are all effective ways to release emotional energy constructively. These practices prevent emotions from building up unchecked and help you maintain balance. Finally, consider your environment as an ally in emotional regulation. Small changes in your surroundings, like soft lighting, calming music, or decluttering your space, can significantly reduce emotional arousal. Our brains are constantly influenced by sensory input, even before we consciously notice it. By creating environments that foster calm and clarity, you reduce the likelihood of emotional overwhelm and make it easier to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. These strategies, mindfulness, cognitive reframing, impulse control, healthy expression, and environmental adjustment, are not isolated techniques. They work synergistically to give you greater control over your emotional landscape. The more consistently you practice them, the more automatic they become, gradually transforming the way you experience your emotions. With persistence, you will find yourself navigating challenges with calm, responding to stress with clarity, and turning potentially overwhelming emotional moments into opportunities for insight, growth, and empowerment. Once you have practiced the foundational strategies of emotional regulation, it is time to deepen your skills with advanced tools that take your mastery to a higher level. One of the most powerful techniques is emotional labeling, simply naming the emotion you are feeling. I feel anxious, I am frustrated, I am excited, can immediately reduce its intensity. By articulating your feelings, you engage the rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, which helps to calm the amygdala's rapid automatic response. Consider it like shining a flashlight into a dark room. Once you see the source of your emotions clearly, it loses some of its power over you. Somatic awareness is another advanced technique. Emotions do not exist only in the mind, they live in the body. Anxiety may manifest as tight shoulders, racing heartbeat, or shallow breathing, while anger might create clenched fists or a tense jaw. By tuning into these bodily sensations, you can intervene before emotions escalate. Simple somatic exercises, such as stretching, shaking out your limbs, grounding yourself by pressing your feet into the floor, or engaging in mindful movement, help release built-up tension. Your body is constantly signaling your emotional state, and when you listen, you gain control instead of letting emotions control you. Visualization is another remarkably effective tool. Before entering stressful situations, close your eyes and imagine yourself responding calmly and effectively. Picture yourself maintaining composure, speaking clearly, and acting in alignment with your values. Visualize the tension in your body releasing with each breath, and imagine the scenario unfolding successfully. This mental rehearsal strengthens neural pathways in your brain, preparing you to respond skillfully in real-life situations. With repeated practice, calm and intentional reactions become habitual rather than aspirational. In addition, techniques derived from Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, CBT, and Dialectical Behaviour Therapy, DBT, provide structured methods for long-term emotional mastery. DBT skills such as distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and mindfulness equip you with actionable steps for handling intense emotions. CBT strategies like cognitive restructuring allow you to challenge unhelpful thought patterns and replace them with constructive perspectives. These methods are not only effective in therapy, they are practical tools you can use in your everyday life to observe, reflect, and respond rather than react. Another subtle yet powerful strategy is preparation and anticipation. Recognize situations that often trigger intense emotions and plan your response in advance. By rehearsing mentally and considering alternative perspectives, you create a mental roadmap for handling challenges. For example, if you know a difficult conversation is coming, visualize yourself responding with patience and clarity rather than defensiveness. Over time, these anticipatory exercises strengthen your emotional agility and confidence. Finally, remember that emotional regulation is a practice, not a destination. You will not eliminate difficult emotions completely, nor should you aim to. The goal is to respond skillfully, to harness the energy of your emotions for insight, action, and connection, rather than allowing them to dictate your life. Each time you label an emotion, engage your body, visualize a positive response, or use therapeutic techniques, you are rewiring your brain and strengthening the foundation of mastery. Over time, what once felt chaotic, overwhelming, or uncontrollable becomes manageable, predictable, and even empowering. Advanced tools give you not just control, but the freedom to experience emotions fully while responding intentionally. Mastering your emotions is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong journey. The tools and strategies you've learned so far are powerful, but their true potential is realized when you integrate them into your daily life consistently. Think of emotional regulation like training a muscle. The more often you practice mindfulness, labeling, somatic awareness, and cognitive reframing, the stronger and more automatic these responses become. Daily reflection is one of the most effective ways to maintain this growth. Take time each day to review moments when emotions arose. Ask yourself, how did I respond? What worked well? what could I do differently next time? This practice deepens awareness, reinforces intentional behavior, and strengthens your capacity to respond thoughtfully under pressure. Your lifestyle plays a crucial role in emotional mastery. Sleep, nutrition, physical activity, and social connections are not just peripheral aspects of well-being, they directly impact how well you can regulate emotions. A tired mind reacts more strongly to triggers. Poor nutrition can affect mood, and a lack of movement may increase restlessness and tension in the body. By caring for your body, you support your emotional resilience. Imagine your mind and body as a garden. Strong, consistent care nourishes growth, creating fertile ground for emotional balance and stability. Creating intentional daily habits amplifies long-term mastery. Start small. Perhaps you commit to pausing before responding in emotionally charged situations, journaling for a few minutes at the end of each day, or practicing mindful breathing each morning. Even brief, consistent actions compound over time, producing profound changes. Set reminders if necessary, and treat these practices as non-negotiable appointments with yourself. Over weeks and months, these small steps become ingrained patterns, and emotional regulation shifts from a conscious effort to a natural automatic process. Community and support are also essential for sustained emotional growth. Surround yourself with people who model emotional intelligence and who encourage reflection, empathy, and mindful responses. Conversations with trusted friends, mentors, or support groups provide perspective, reduce emotional intensity, and offer guidance for handling challenges. Sharing your journey not only strengthens your own skills, but also inspires those around you to cultivate awareness and mastery. Emotional growth is magnified when practiced in connection with others. Another key component is setting a daily intention. Today, I notice my emotions and choose my response. Repeat it silently to yourself throughout the day, especially in moments of tension or stress. This simple habit keeps your mind aligned with the principle that emotions are information, not commands. With consistent intention, you will notice a profound shift. Emotional reactivity decreases, clarity increases, and your ability to act in alignment with your values strengthens. Remember, emotional mastery does not mean the absence of challenging emotions. Difficult feelings will arise, and that is natural. It is part of being human. The difference is that mastery allows you to observe these emotions, understand their origins, and respond thoughtfully rather than being swept away by them. Each conscious response strengthens your capacity for resilience, insight, and calm. Over time, what once felt like a struggle becomes a source of empowerment. You begin to experience life more fully, guided by awareness rather than hijacked by impulse. Imagine living each day with a sense of emotional freedom, where stress no longer dictates your actions, where conflict is navigated with calm and clarity, and where your emotions become your allies rather than your obstacles. This vision is not only possible, it is achievable through consistent practice, intentional living, and mindful reflection. Emotional mastery is a lifestyle, a quiet strength that shapes your thoughts, decisions, and interactions in profound and lasting ways. Now that you have explored the principles, strategies, and advanced tools of emotional regulation, it's time to bring them into practice through exercises that you can incorporate into your daily life. Start with a mindful check-in. Wherever you are, pause for a moment. Take a slow, deep inhale and feel your body expand. Exhale fully, noticing how your muscles relax with the outward flow. Bring your attention to your current emotional state. What sensations do you notice in your body? Are your shoulders tense, your jaw tight, or your stomach uneasy? Label the emotions present. I feel anxious, I feel frustrated, or I feel tired. Observing and naming your emotions creates a small but powerful space between feeling and reaction, giving you the opportunity to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Next, practice visualization for emotional control. Close your eyes and imagine a situation that usually triggers a strong emotional response. See yourself approaching it calmly and confidently. Visualize the tension in your body releasing with each breath. Hear your words flowing with clarity and intention. Picture the scenario unfolding in a way that aligns with your values and goals. By rehearsing this mentally, you train your brain and body to react with composure when faced with the real-life situation. Over time, this exercise strengthens your emotional resilience and makes deliberate responses feel natural and automatic. Incorporate journaling into your daily routine. Take 10 to 15 minutes each day to write freely about your emotions. Reflect on moments that triggered strong reactions. Describe your thoughts and bodily sensations, and explore alternative responses. Journaling externalizes your emotions, allowing you to observe them from a distance. It also provides a record of your progress, revealing patterns and helping you understand which strategies work best for different situations. Pair journaling with physical movement, stretching, walking, or even shaking out tension from your body to release built-up emotional energy and reconnect with a sense of grounded calm. Another practical exercise involves pause and breathe during emotional surges. When you feel your heart racing, your face heating, or your mind spiraling, immediately pause. Take 3 deep, intentional breaths, focusing on the physical sensations of each inhale and exhale. This small intervention interrupts the automatic flow of reactive emotions and activates your prefrontal cortex, allowing for conscious decision-making. Combine this with cognitive reframing. Ask yourself, is there another way to interpret this situation? What perspective would allow me to respond calmly and effectively? Over time, these combined practices significantly reduce emotional intensity and increase clarity in response. Somatic exercises are also invaluable. Emotions often manifest physically before you fully recognize them mentally. Engage in movements that release tension. Roll your shoulders, stretch your neck, shake out your hands and legs, or ground yourself by feeling your feet firmly on the floor. These actions help your body release stored stress and align your physical state with your intention to respond thoughtfully. By combining awareness of physical sensations with mindful interventions, you create a feedback loop that strengthens emotional regulation at both a mental and bodily level. Finally, reflect on your progress. Each day, set aside moments to notice how your emotional responses have shifted. Identify situations where you responded differently than you might have in the past. Celebrate small wins and consider areas for continued growth. Emotional regulation is a dynamic practice. Setbacks will occur, but they are not failures. They are opportunities for reflection and adjustment. By engaging in these exercises consistently, you are building a foundation of resilience, awareness, and intentionality that will support you in every aspect of life. As we reach the end of this journey into emotional regulation, take a moment to reflect on all that you have learned. You now understand that emotions are not your enemies. They are signals, guides, and invaluable sources of insight into your mind, body, and environment. You have explored foundational strategies like mindfulness, cognitive reframing, impulse control, and healthy expression. You have learned advanced techniques such as emotional labeling, somatic awareness, visualization, and therapeutic frameworks like CBT and DBT. Most importantly, you now know that emotional mastery is a skill, a practice, and a lifestyle, cultivated consistently through awareness, reflection, and intentional action. The power of emotional regulation lies not in suppressing or avoiding your feelings, but in transforming your relationship with them. Each time you pause, label, observe, or respond intentionally, you are strengthening your prefrontal cortex, reinforcing neural pathways that allow you to act with calm, clarity, and purpose. Emotional mastery allows you to navigate challenges with resilience, communicate with empathy, and make choices aligned with your values rather than being driven by automatic reactions. Over time, what once felt overwhelming and chaotic becomes manageable, enriching, and empowering. Now it's your turn to take what you've learned and apply it in your life. Begin with small, consistent steps. Practice mindful check-ins, label your emotions, engage your body through somatic exercises, and reflect in journaling. Visualize calm responses to challenging situations and integrate these tools into your daily routine. Celebrate small victories, learn from setbacks, and approach each day with the intention. Today, I notice my emotions and choose my response. By doing so, you gradually reclaim control over the feelings that once controlled you. Imagine a life where you respond rather than react, where intense emotions provide insight rather than overwhelm, and where every moment of challenge becomes an opportunity for growth and mastery. This is not just a possibility, it is within your reach, beginning now with awareness, practice, and patience. Emotional regulation is your gateway to freedom, presence, and personal empowerment. Each choice, each conscious action, each moment of reflection compounds over time, building a life that is not dictated by impulses but guided by clarity, intention, and resilience. Your journey toward emotional mastery starts today. Commit to noticing your emotions, understanding their signals, and responding intentionally. Apply the strategies you've learned consistently, engage with the exercises, and share your progress with yourself and others. Emotional regulation is not an abstract concept. It is a lived experience, a daily practice, and a lifelong skill. Embrace it fully, practice it diligently, and watch as your life transforms moment by moment, reaction by reaction, into a life of calm, clarity, and empowered choice.